if they want to. Talk don't bother me. I want the whole wide world to know that
And welcome back to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DeRienzo. Miss Jo Marie Musi, my usual co-host and intrepid partner, is not with us today. She's away, and she'll tell us more about her adventures in the next show. And in the meantime, our guest is Dimitri. And Dimitri is a fascinating figure. He works and helps people get off their heroin addiction using the African rainforest plant, the Iboga, and the drug that's taken from the root bark of that plant called Ibogaine. And we've talked about that earlier on this show. I don't know if folks remember, it was back in the summer we had Preston Pete on and we were talking about it. We're going to talk about it a little bit from a different perspective, and we're going to open the phones to you. As you can see, our number is 212-757-1538, and we want to take your calls, and you can ask Dimitri about Ibogaine, and we'll get right down to it. Dimitri, how did you get involved with Ibogaine? By the way, what's the photograph behind us?
Those are Bwiti folks from Gabon, West Africa.
Bwiti folks? What's a Bwiti folk?
Well, they're Bwiti. They're Gabonese, and they are in the ceremony they're taking part in the ceremony of Iboga. They're ingesting the sacrament.
Well, what's this light in the middle?
I don't know the
exactly
significance. I don't know exactly what's going on in this picture.
I've seen different types of treatment well, this isn't a treatment. This is a actual initiation in Africa of the religion, the Bwiti religion of Gabon, Cameroon, in that region of Africa where we have an animistic religion, an indigenous religion that's been there for millennium.
Yeah.
And in fact, in Gabon, they say that the Bwiti religion actually holds its own against both Christianity and Islam.
It's the only growing indigenous religion on the continent. It's taking converts from Islam and from Christianity and bringing them back to the Bwiti, and sometimes incorporating those religions as
Bwiti is God.
Or the spirit of the plant. Yes,
the spirit of the plant. And well, let's talk a little bit about this plant. What is Iboga? It's a bush, right?
Yeah, it's a bush.
And this bush grows throughout Africa, pretty much wild. Is it cultivated?
I'm not a botanist, and I'm not the guy to ask about scientific questions or botany questions. And I know it grows in Gabon, in that region of West Africa. I know that the pygmies or the forest people started ingesting it 15,000 years ago or something thereabouts.
According to the legend, right?
Yeah, according to the legend. And then they brought it to the coast. And the reason they gave it to the Gabonese is because, like a lot of indigenous people, they were being picked on by these people who plant things, and they turned them on to some of this stuff, and they started picking on them. And if you look at the map, it's the only country where it's the most peaceful country in the region.
Right, there is very few wars there, and it's a beautiful forested area that hasn't been decimated, the environment, quite yet, although people are protecting that and fighting for that. Well, so Ibogaine comes to the United States. How did you find out about it?
I was an active heroin user and cocaine user.
That's a big admission.
Yeah.
America to make. Well, you have a lot of courage to
well,
make that admission.
I'm also a member of VOCAL, the New York City Drug Users Union. So I'm an out drug user, although I haven't used in a while. But I still identify. So I was involved on Lower East Side and drugs, and I heard about it first through a friend of mine, Adam, and his wife at the time, Herta, and we were getting high, and they were telling me about this thing that they heard about through Dana Beal, and we were actually at Herbert Hunke's apartment on the Lower East Side. So there was interesting connections there.
The beat hero, Herbert Hunke,
who was a dear friend of mine and a teacher of mine. Anyways, I heard about it a long time ago, and it took me maybe 15 years to finally ingest the sacrament or ingest Ibogaine. I had to go to Holland to do it. I was at the time I was on 100 milligrams of methadone. I was shooting up about $150 to $200 worth of heroin a day, and I would throw in some cocaine for psychosis. And I was doing that for
the psychosis.
Yeah, a little psychosis, stir things up a bit. And I was at the point in my dependency or my addiction where I really was getting ready to die. I was turning 40. I was moved back to Detroit. I was living in my parents' basement, and I needed to do something. And this Ibogaine was in the back of my mind, and I knew about it. And so I contacted some folks who hooked me up. I mean, through Dana Beals, one of the people down at 9 Bleecker Street, who steered me to Sarah. And you know, being a 40-year-old dope fiend.
Sarah in Amsterdam.
Sarah in Amsterdam. Sarah in Amsterdam.
Now, Ibogaine is not legal in the United States.
Ibogaine is a Schedule I drug in the United States, same as heroin or acid or marijuana.
Seriously illegal.
Seriously illegal, yeah.
However, nowhere else is it illegal. Almost nowhere else.
Almost nowhere else. There's a few other countries, but very few. Belgium, for some reason, and a few other countries, yeah. Most of the places it's not scheduled at all.
Right.
I mean,
it's not really it was used somewhat in the 60s. I think Hunter Thompson refers to it. According to Hunter Thompson, Ibogaine was used to drug Edmund Muskie during the 1972 presidential election.
Yeah. He was on a
But that's only him speaking.
Listen, Ibogaine is not any fun. Okay.
I don't see how you could drug somebody. It's not like something you could. You couldn't put a drop of it in somebody's car.
No. This is some serious shit.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I went through this treatment. I came through it 2 days. I was in Amsterdam, the mecca for drugs. For the mecca for a junkie would be Amsterdam. I was there. I woke up without the desire to use, without withdrawal, although I went through an incredibly hellacious experience, an epiphany, really, and I haven't used since, okay? And
how long ago was that?
That was 4.5 years ago, May 21st.
So you went from a $200 a day habit and methadone to not using heroin at all in one treatment, 2 days?
For me, one treatment. Sometimes I don't even. We can get into like the goal.
One trip. I don't know.
One trip. One experience, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Because I think it's all those things wrapped together. A treatment, a sacrament, medicine.
What's it like?
It's different.
How did you take it? What does it look like?
I took it. I've done it twice. I did it once for my addiction, and I did it once for psychospiritual experience to reconnect with the Bwiti. It's the first form I took it was a whole plant extract. It looks kind of like hash, and that's just an extract from the plant. The second time I did a hydrochloride. What we do in the underground, the Ibogaine underground in the States here, is we use a hydrochloride. Okay, and
that's a powder.
That's a powder.
It's a white or brown.
It's a white powder. It's a white powder. We measure that out for body weight, and you know the both times were different, although similar. People report. I've seen so many different experiences. I mean, I've seen people go back to using immediately, but come to terms with their sexuality or their gender or the fact that they recover childhood trauma. I've seen folks walk away and never use again. I see folks that realize that they're okay with using.
Well, let's talk more about your trip. So the first time you did it, you swallow it. You're sitting in a.
No, man, you gotta lay down, man, because you can't move.
So you're on a bed, basically.
Yeah, you're on a bed. You're on a bed.
How long is after you take it? It takes like a couple hours.
Well, what you do is you take the first one, and that's a test dose to make sure you're not allergic to it. And this is the protocol we follow here. You know, when we're doing it here in New York. And then you wait like an hour, and you start to feel a little bit. The amazing thing is, you walk in there, and we do it for all kinds of dependencies, but for an opiate dependency, and for those folks who are dependent on opiates, they can understand what this means. Who are watching right now, you take the initial, the small amount, the test dose, and within an hour, your quote-unquote dope sickness goes away.
Right.
But it doesn't. Yeah, it goes away, and then you start taking a little bit more and a little bit more, and you start what is called the flood stage. The flood stage will come in over the course of an hour and will last anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. And during that time, you'll be unable to really get up and walk around. If you have to use the restroom or go to the bathroom, someone will help you. I was throwing up a lot. Not everyone does that. And the experience is a body and spiritual experience. It's not like taking acid where you're going to see things flashing in front of your eyes. Every individual has an individual experience. But I did see the spirit of the plant. Not only was I cured. Not only was I had a remission of my physical dependency on opiates, but I also dealt with childhood trauma, my fear of death, my fear of heights, many things.
So it's almost, I've heard it described as seeing a movie go by your.
It can be.
Life go by in a movie.
Sometimes it's that linear. The second time with me, I went in with some questions about the nature of suffering, and it wasn't anything linear like that. It just really kicked my ass for about 8. I think it was doing that. The spirit of the plant was doing that because I work with it.
Okay.
But I woke up, just to sum it up, I woke up in Holland.
Yeah.
2 days later, someone had used for over 20 years, and I watched Sarah's son getting ready for school. He's 4 years old, and he was a beautiful little kid. Now, you know, he was a little actor. Now it's like he's like 8 years old now, and he was putting mousse on his hair, and I'm sitting up. It's the first time I could sit up, and I'm weak, and there's snot rolling down his face, but he was concentrating on his hair. And I started laughing and crying, and
you went 2 days without using heroin on a $150 a day habit.
And 100 milligrams of methadone.
And you woke up 2 days later, and what was the first thing you wanted?
I wanted to, like, eat a little bit. Yeah, eat a little bit, like some yogurt, and then just to sit up, man, just to sit up. And
how about your craving for? I mean,
I had for me.
I would imagine it would be like a freight train for me. Average addict right now.
For me personally, and I've seen this varies. For me, I had no desire to use. I was in Holland. I was 20 minutes outside of Amsterdam, and had a pocket full of money.
Why isn't this drug being given out to hundreds of thousands of junkies in America today? Why aren't they lining? Why is the government just having clinics right around the corner here, Presbyterian Hospital, St. Luke's, Roosevelt Hospital? Why aren't people just lining up for Ibogaine treatments? Considering that treatment took a few hours, a few days, and the average stay in a treatment facility to detox is what, 30 days?
Well, detox is like, they're cutting it down, they're cutting it back, but yeah.
And it costs how much?
Oh, tens of thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands of dollars? And they basically nowadays they don't do much more than just chain you to a bed like the old days.
Well, now that it's a little more humane. I mean, they're giving people, you know, there's some good medicines out there. Yeah. But I think to answer your question, there's nothing that does this, and this is not for everybody. Methadone might be for somebody. Hell, heroin's for a lot of people.
Well,
you know,
I
so
don't
it's
expect you to be able to answer that question. I'm asking mostly to the listening, to the viewing audience.
Quick breakdown, because we only got a half an hour. It's too much, okay, for one thing, okay? Does one of these big pharmaceuticals want to attach their names to the African hallucinogen that was developed by drug users? By the way, this was all drug user propelled. Right. You know, from Howard Lutzoff discovering it in the early '60s to like people setting up clinics and people giving other dope fiends
self-actualization by the dope fiends themselves.
Yeah, and then we continue to do that in New York with our group Freedom Route.
Our number, by the way, is 212-757-1538. 212-757-1538. Our guest, Dimitri. We're talking about Ibogaine, which is the purported cure for some people of heroin and other addictions. We'll talk about those other addictions, and we're here to take your calls. I'm Paul DeRienzo. This is Let Them Talk. We're here every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And Joan Musi, our usual co-host, is not with us today, but she will be here soon. And we will do this show again with her because she would have some wonderful questions to ask as well. But now we're going to turn it over to you, the viewer. So 212-757-1538. If you have a heroin problem, if you have questions about Ibogaine, now's the time to ask them. We have the person who knows. All right, Dimitri, go on.
Well, I mean, why isn't it available here? First of all, I mean, like you said, it's gonna put a lot of people out of work. Okay, so put a lot of people, a lot of prison guards out of work, a lot of lawyers out of work, a lot of cops out of work, a lot of doctors out of work. Okay, it will provide work for other people though, because there's work to do afterwards. The work that we should all do, helping each other, hands-on, one-on-one. I mean, I'm not saying you take Ibogaine and you walk away into the sunset. That's not the deal. This goes depending on what your goal is. Again, I am not about if someone doesn't want to get off of dope and they just want an Ibogaine experience to come for that experience.
Yes.
My level of what I measure success at this point, after having provided this for 2.5 years, is when a drug user ingests Ibogaine in a safe and loving environment, okay? But why isn't it legal? Well, like I said, it's from Africa for one thing, okay? Yeah, that's a big thing right there. It's found by some crazy junkies, okay?
Right.
You trip and you address some shit that like maybe they don't want addressed, okay? Right. And they really, it's what they call, it doesn't act just on one level. It acts on many levels.
Well, it's not they want a magic bullet in which it's a chemical compound that latches onto another chemical compound and can be studied in rats. Well, they've studied Ibogaine in rats, actually. Yeah. But I know what you're saying. They're looking for a magic bullet, and Ibogaine is like a magic shotgun shell.
Yeah, exactly. And the biggie is, how are they going to make money off of this? If, let's say, I've known people, the most I've known someone to do this, ingest Ibogaine, was 8 times. Let's say it's 2 grams each. This is a lot, okay? So that person has ingested 16 grams of Ibogaine over the course of 15 years.
Right.
Where's the money? How are you going to make money in that? If I was still on the methadone clinic, I would be paying, or you would be paying for me to go to a methadone clinic, depending on where I was, anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 a year. Okay, so they already got another $50,000 off of me.
Right.
Okay. Instead, I did 2 grams of Ibogaine. You know, and I got some care, you know, and I went and I did the things afterwards.
Yes.
So there's no money in it. And when you work on, when you have pay a for-profit medical, you know, medical establishment, you know.
There was the money in Ibogaine.
Yeah.
It's
And
not,
you
they would like something that's sort of a chronic thing they can give every day. And like Ibogaine, like methadone, you come every day, and that costs a lot of money
Yeah.
to keep somebody in a program like that. And a lot of people are supported by that. With Ibogaine, it would never work that way.
No.
It would have to be, people would have to be intake. There's certain people who are helped by it would then be treated, as you said, a couple of times a year. Wow, interesting. We're talking about addiction. We're talking about Ibogaine, the purported cure from the rainforests of West Africa. And we're here to take your calls. Dimitri, how about we're talking about opiates. Now, are other addictions, other compulsions like addiction, are they affected? Have they been affected by Ibogaine in your
Yeah, and I can't break down the science for you. What I can tell you,
cigarettes, tobacco.
Absolutely. I kicked the second time I went. I kicked my tobacco nicotine dependency.
The same thing. You came out of the experience.
I did a little bit differently. I started with acupuncture, and then I started with the patch, and then in the middle I just kind of pushed it out. But I've seen people walk away from cigarette habits.
Yes.
The thing about Ibogaine that works really well with an opiate habit is you walk in and you're sick, and the drug user takes the Ibogaine, and then 2 days later he walks out and he's not sick. It's an amazing transformation. And if you're poly addicted, that works as well. Stimulants, like, you know, where there's a big crystal meth problem in various communities, you know, in New York and around the country, I've seen it work. It's a little bit tougher because there's not that often. There's not that so clear. It's not so clear. But it does work with cocaine. It does really well with alcohol. The thing about alcohol and benzodiazepam, it does not address the physical withdrawals.
Benzodiazepam
meaning benzos and Valiums, sticks. You guys know.
It doesn't really. The person still goes through the physical withdrawal.
But no, the physical withdrawal for those are actually too dangerous. They have to be addressed before, because early on in my working with Ibogaine, I had someone go through. I didn't realize that he was addicted to alcohol, and that's a scary thing, man. Right. So what we do is we detox that person first, and then we give them the Ibogaine.
It's scarier to detox from alcohol than from heroin.
Absolutely. You can die from a detox from alcohol. Right. And these are the type of things as
from heroin, it's just uncomfortable.
It's more than uncomfortable, and there's been some folks who have been going back to that old
How about this? Folks have been using. I've talked about this before. Folks have been using this treatment that you see advertised around, where they basically put you to sleep and then they shoot you up with a drug that causes instant withdrawal, and then you go through the withdrawal while you're under. But then people come out of it and they say they feel like they just went, even though they were asleep, they wake up feeling they just went 3 rounds with. Subutox. I don't have any problem with. I don't have any problem with methadone. I don't have any problem with heroin either. But when people start talking, that's the one that scares me, because I've heard so many bad things about it. It's just like pushing all of it out and then just throwing you out on the street, man. And and there's some unscrupulous people. I'm sure there's some very good people who work with it, but instant detox or something they call it.
It's rapid opiate detox.
So you don't suggest that's a good idea. Nobody.
I don't, man.
Methadone. The other thing is methadone, because in a lot of ways, methadone is a more dangerous drug to, or harder or more difficult drug to kick than heroin.
Yeah, it's a more difficult drug to kick than heroin, for sure. It's a more difficult drug to treat with Ibogaine than heroin.
It is. But Ibogaine does work on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It worked on me. I was on 100 milligrams.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is, to me, every time I hear about Ibogaine and all these experiences, and I've been hearing this from, not just from you, Dimitri, from many different people, these similar type of experiences from people who've had these problems, had these addictions for years, and then they take Ibogaine and they have these miraculous stories. And it's very interesting because it does relate. I mean, look at the picture behind us. I mean, this is something that's coming from the indigenous roots of mankind. This is not coming out of a laboratory in Basel, Switzerland. This is coming out of the forests. This is coming out of the most ancient traditions of the earliest humans on Earth. And as such, it is a threat to modern scientific society.
And they got it. Yeah, it really is. I mean, what I say And there's a lot of folks who can, like I said, who can explain the science. I just say it's God, man. That's good enough for me, and that's really frustrating to a lot of people. But I see miracles with Ibogaine, or the beginning of real miracles, which is really a beginning. There's, you know, with Ibogaine and what we've been doing with Freedom Root in the city, and a lot of it's really unexplainable.
Right. Again, our number is 212-757-1538. We have whenever we don't get calls, I always wonder if maybe the phone isn't working. Let me see. No, it seems to be working.
Okay.
So I do suggest folks call in, because I know that folks must have some interesting questions about this, and let's give it a shot. Hi, you're on. Try again. Well, we'll give it another shot. All right. So, while we're waiting for that call, oh, there you are. All right. You're on. Hello.
Hi, I just want to call it a test to what your guest is speaking about.
Okay. What? Repeat that. I couldn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Just want to attest as living proof of what your guest is speaking about.
Oh, you're living proof.
Yeah.
And some people I know.
Who are you?
Where are you calling from?
I'll call you later and tell you who I am.
I know. Oh, I know who you are.
Right.
Well, don't say my name.
But you've done Ibogaine, you've been treated and gone through this experience as well.
Yeah, friends of mine have, yeah.
And what did you see from that?
Really good outcomes, long-term good outcomes.
Very interesting. Another test coming just from, you know, the ether on Manhattan. Thank you very much, caller.
You're welcome.
Yes. And so, Joe, we got a few minutes more. I want to get some more input from the listeners and the viewers. And you're on. Join us. Welcome to Let Them Talk. Go ahead. You're on.
Hi. Yeah. I just wanted to ask you.
Sure.
Taking this particular drug, is it just for somebody who's sick, or would somebody possibly take it as an experience just to grow and develop?
You can absolutely take it as an experience to grow and develop. I mean, my mission with Freedom Root is pretty much to work with drug users, but I have taken it, and I've seen folks take it as an experience. It's what the folks what the Demitri take it for in Africa, and I got to say that it's an amazing transformational medicine. Absolutely, you can take it, and I recommend you take it. but take it safely. There is dangers involved with it, and I would not do it by yourself. I would do it with someone who knows about it. There's even been fatalities. You have to be very careful with this. Right. It's not a club drug. It's a serious medicine.
Okay, but it would lead to, even if you didn't have an addiction, but you would actually grow, you'd have an experience that after a day or two.
Yes.
You may well, yeah, I can't guarantee that, but I've seen it over and over again. And folks deal with things besides their addiction with this. And yeah, it's an amazing medicine.
In Gabon, folks say they meet their ancestors. It's a coming of age. It's sort of like a Gabonese version of a bar mitzvah. Coming of age.
And I met my ancestors too, so.
Yeah.
And how is the name of the root spelled? You called it Freedom Root? I didn't catch the spelling.
Freedom Root is the name of my organization, and Ibogaine is the name of the root.
Right.
How's that spelled?
Ibogaine. And it comes from Iboga, the Iboga plant, which grows in West Africa, in Gabon and Cameroon.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very interesting show.
Thank you. All right, we'll take some more calls. Again, Dimitri's our guest, and we're talking about addiction, and we're talking about the purported African cure that works for numbers of people on addiction. And as you've heard, we've just opened the phones and had testimony to people's, I don't know if success is the right word, but a positive outcome.
Yeah, I think success is right.
And the thing is, you have to understand, I mean, the statistics of treatment and addiction, how pathetic it really is. And I'll say this, I mean, listen, 12-step has worked for a lot of people, but the government does not give a lot of money to treatment programs, including 12-step, because the argument's always made, so few people for the money and the investment are actually treated.
Well, listen, Ibogaine can work well with 12 steps, with whatever after.
Don't you think that there needs to be the traditional interaction with a group or with a counselor is still
absolutely.
We're not saying this isn't like a magic book.
No, it's not. You need to do something. And the other thing we really got to address, I think we really have to address is, what do we do with that great majority of the folks that will never get off of drugs? Do we throw them away, or do we treat them like our brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
You know, and they might be on drugs, you know, and that's why my whole thing working with this has changed over the last couple of years.
Right.
I just wanted, well, I really wanted to go out and save the world and give them what I got, you know, but now I just want to bring Ibogaine to drug users, and they can use it for whatever they want. And like, if they use again, or if they continue to use, that's okay with me if it's all right with them.
All right. Well, we have a couple more minutes for another call, so we're looking forward to anyone who has a question. 212-757-1538. I'm Paul DeRienzo, and this is Let Them Talk. We're on every Tuesday at 8 o'clock, and Dimitri, our guest today, and we're talking about Ibogaine, the purported cure for addictions. And it's amazing because I found, you know, my previously talking about Ibogaine in many shows I did when I had this similar program to this on WBAI was how many people really called, and in the end were not so much interested in drugs but in tobacco.
It works for tobacco.
Yeah. Oh, there you are. You're on. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Call it.
Yeah. I want to ask you how we get it.
How do you get it?
Yeah.
Here's the problem, brother. It's illegal in America. We're working, I can't tell you exactly how to get it. I work with an organization called Freedom Route. I can tell you that much. You can do some research by going on the internet. Well, we do treatments in New York, but that's all I can really say, brother.
You don't have a phone?
I can't give it out. I'd give it out if I could, but I can't, brother. The name of the organization is Freedom Route.
Freedom, where you at?
Right, Freedom Route.
Freedom Route.
Thank you very much. All right, and we got a couple more minutes. We'll take your calls if we can. All right, and this is Let Them Talk. We're talking about Ibogaine. Well, you know, let's talk a little bit more, because there are treatments that are done legally in different places, and let's talk about some of the folks who are doing it. Deborah Mash from the University of Miami.
She's doing it. They're doing it. There's a place called Ibogaine again, where he's got a clinic set up. That's Eric Taub. He's done hundreds of treatments. There's the place outside of Tijuana, the Ibogaine Association.
We talk about Amsterdam. There's a place
Sarah's house in Amsterdam. Some things are happening in Vancouver. The problem is the people that we are working with in this area and other places in America are the people who are either because they're felons and they can't get out of the country, or they can't afford to leave. We're working with people here.
So that makes it difficult, because an addict it could very possibly be a felon if they've ever been arrested.
Absolutely.
Selling it or possessing
Absolutely.
it. And therefore they don't have a passport.
You get busted with, because you ingest something, you lose a lot of your civil rights.
Very interesting. 30 seconds to wrap up.
Well, just, you know, we're out here. This is a user-propelled organization, and we're out here doing it for ourselves. So that brother who just called in, try to find us, Freedom Route. We're out here. We're doing it in New York, and we're not going to stop.
Right. And you can see our website for letemtalk.blogspot.com. This show in a couple of days will be archived and available on that site and through YouTube. If there's anything interesting here, please call us, or please come to that webpage and watch the show. Maybe you can get more information from it and get some of the information you might have missed if you came in late. So this is Let Them Talk. Thank you very much. And we're running out of time. And Dimitri, thanks for coming.
Thanks, man.
A very interesting show, and we'll see you next week. Take care. And Joni says hi. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Hey, Lawton.
There you go.
There you go.